At exactly 3:12 a.m. on the 3rd of May 2026, the sky over Israel turned into a nightmare. In the dead of night, while most Americans were sleeping peacefully, Iran launched the largest ballistic missile assault in modern history. Over 1,250 Emad missiles roared out of their launchers and streaked toward Israeli territory at speeds faster than Mach 13. Their primary target, the fortified headquarters of the legendary Golani Brigade, Israel's elite number 1 brigade, the battle-proven infantry force that has earned the respect of American patriots for generations. Wave after wave lit up the night sky like a storm of fire and judgment. The Israeli Iron Dome fired desperately until its launchers ran dry and exploded on their pads. American-supported Patriot batteries went silent one by one. Even the Arrow 3 system, the crown jewel of U.S. Israeli defense cooperation, was completely overwhelmed and failed under the sheer saturation attack. By the time the sun rose that morning, the devastation was shocking. The Golani Brigade's command center lay in smoking ruins. 42 advanced fighter jets and attack helicopters, including F-35S and Apaches, destroyed or heavily damaged on the ground. 135 Merkava tanks and armored vehicles turned into burning wrecks. Critical fuel and ammunition depots erupted in massive secondary explosions that lit the horizon for miles. 280 Golani warriors, some of Israel's finest and most experienced soldiers, were killed in those first terrible hours. More than 920 others were seriously wounded. An entire generation of battle-hardened officers and fighters, men who had trained and fought alongside American forces for decades, was cut down in a single night. The estimated damage, $14.8 billion. A catastrophic loss that will take years and billions more in American taxpayer aid to recover from. My fellow Americans, at 3:12 a.m. on May 3rd, the illusion of unchallenged military superiority was shattered. Our closest ally in the Middle East, a nation we have supported with blood and treasure for generations, had its aura of invincibility broken partly by the very systems we helped build and promised to protect. How did Iran, under decades of sanctions, coordinate such an overwhelming strike? Why did America's ironclad shield fail when it mattered most? And what does this humiliating night mean for America's strength, credibility, and future in a dangerous new world? Tonight, we lay bare the full, unfiltered truth, the tactics, the technology, the blackout, and the new global order now being born in fire and thunder. This is U.S. Fury Force. If you're a patriot who still believes in facing hard truths, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the war that will define our century has already begun, and America must wake up. The assault did not begin with warnings or ultimatums. It began at 3:12 a.m., with fire raining from the sky. In a meticulously coordinated operation, Iran launched the largest ballistic missile barrage in modern military history. Over 1,250 Emad, medium-range ballistic missiles, were fired in successive saturation waves. Each missile, carrying a 750-kilogram high-explosive warhead, screamed toward Israeli territory at speeds exceeding Mach 13. The primary objective was crystal clear and devastating: the complete destruction of the Golani Brigade's central command headquarters and its surrounding military infrastructure in northern Israel. This was not a random strike on civilian areas. It was a precision decapitation operation aimed at one of the Israel Defense Forces' most respected and battle-hardened units. The attack unfolded in 3 brutal, well-planned phases. Phase 1 consisted of hundreds of low-cost Shahed drones and cruise missiles acting as decoys. These cheap, slow-moving threats forced Israeli and American air defense systems to expend their most expensive interceptors. For over an hour, the sky over Israel was filled with the flashes of exploding drones and the roar of outgoing missiles. Defenses were deliberately stretched to the breaking point. Then came Phase 2, the real hammer. Wave after wave of Emad ballistic missiles descended with terrifying accuracy. Many were equipped with maneuverable re-entry vehicles that performed high-G terminal maneuvers, making them extremely difficult for terminal phase interceptors to hit. Israeli commanders later admitted that the sheer volume of incoming threats simply overwhelmed the system. Batteries ran out of missiles. Radar operators watched in horror as screen after screen filled with threats they could no longer engage. The results were catastrophic. The Golani Brigade headquarters, a heavily fortified complex considered one of the most secure command nodes in the IDF, took dozens of direct hits. Entire buildings were reduced to rubble. Underground bunkers, designed to withstand conventional attacks, collapsed under the kinetic energy and explosive force of multiple warheads. Communication hubs that coordinated operations across the northern sector were completely annihilated, creating a command blackout that lasted critical hours. Casualties were staggering. Initial reports confirmed 280 Golani soldiers and officers killed in the first wave alone, with another 920 seriously wounded. Entire companies stationed at the command complex were effectively wiped out. Elite reconnaissance units, veteran platoon leaders, and senior brigade commanders were among the dead. For a brigade known for its toughness and esprit de corps, the human toll represented one of the single largest losses of experienced IDF personnel in a single night since the Yom Kippur War. The material destruction was equally apocalyptic. 42 advanced combat aircraft, including F-35 stealth fighters, F-15 Strike Eagles, and AH-64 Apache attack helicopters, were either destroyed on the ground or rendered inoperable due to blast and shrapnel damage at nearby airfields. 135 Merkava main battle tanks, heavy armoured personnel carriers, and logistics vehicles were turned into burning wrecks. 12 major fuel and ammunition depots exploded in chain reactions, destroying thousands of tons of high-grade jet fuel, artillery shells, and precision-guided munitions. Air defense radar installations and early warning systems across 6 key sites were obliterated, creating massive blind spots that will take months to repair. Supply convoys moving toward the northern front were caught in the open and devastated. What made this attack so effective was Iran's masterful use of saturation tactics combined with advanced missile technology. By flooding the airspace with more threats than the defense systems could handle, Iran ensured that even a modest penetration rate would still deliver devastating blows. Israeli and American defenders simply ran out of interceptors before the sky ran out of incoming missiles. This was not a blind barrage. Intelligence suggests Iran used precise targeting data, focusing on command nodes, air assets, and logistics choke points. The goal was not mere destruction, it was paralysis. By striking the Golani Brigade at its core, Iran aimed to decapitate Israeli response capability in the critical opening hours of any wider conflict. As the sun rose over the smoking ruins on the morning of May 3rd, the scale of the disaster became painfully clear. The Golani Brigade, a unit whose brown berets have symbolized Israeli resilience for decades, had been struck at its very heart. Israel, a nation that built its identity around military strength and technological superiority, had suffered a blow that shattered both its physical defenses and its psychological confidence. For American observers watching events unfold, the images were sobering. This was not some distant conflict. These were the consequences of a strategy that assumed American technology and Israeli courage would always prevail. On that night, quantity, precision, and ruthless determination proved they could challenge and at least temporarily defeat quality. The fires were still burning at the Golani headquarters when the world woke up to a new reality in the Middle East, and the hard questions were only beginning. Now we come to the heart of the nightmare, the weapon that broke Israel's shield, the Emad ballistic missile, and the terrifying industrial military machine behind it. The Emad is not just another ballistic missile. It is the crown jewel of Iran's long-range strike capability. A medium-range ballistic missile with a maximum range of approximately 1,700 kilometers, a 750-kilogram high-explosive warhead, and a maneuverable re-entry vehicle capable of hypersonic speeds during its terminal phase. On the night of May 3rd, over 1,250 of these missiles were launched in what became the largest single ballistic barrage in human history. Their performance was devastating. What makes the Emad so dangerous is its deadly combination of range, accuracy, and survivability. Powered by advanced liquid-fueled engines derived from the Shahab 3 lineage but significantly upgraded, each missile can carry a high-explosive, submunition or penetrator warhead. The real game-changer lies in its maneuverable re-entry vehicle, or MAV. During the final descent, the warhead performs high-G evasive maneuvers, making it extremely difficult for traditional interceptors like the Arrow 3 or Patriot PAC-3 to achieve a successful kinetic kill. On that fateful night, this capability allowed a significant percentage of missiles to penetrate even the densest defense layers. Many struck with terrifying precision. But the true story is not in a single missile. It is in Iran's ability to produce and launch them at this scale. Despite decades of international sanctions, Iran has built a completely indigenous missile industry. The Emad is designed, engineered, tested, and mass-produced inside Iran. Its guidance systems combine advanced inertial navigation with terminal homing seekers. Accuracy is reported to be under 500 meters at maximum range, more than enough to destroy fixed military targets like command centers, airfields, and logistics hubs. Compare this to the brutal cost equation that doomed the defenses that night. Each Emad missile costs Iran an estimated $300,000 to $500,000 to produce. In contrast, a single Arrow 3 interceptor costs between $2 million and $4 million, while a Patriot PAC-3 missile exceeds $4 million. Iran forced its opponents into an unsustainable economic battle of attrition. For every missile Israel or America tried to shoot down, they spent 10 times more money and still ran out. This is asymmetric warfare taken to its logical and terrifying extreme. Iran did not stop at the Emad. The operation reportedly included coordinated waves of Shahed 136 kamikaze drones, Sumar cruise missiles, and newer hypersonic glide vehicles. This multi-domain approach, ballistic missiles for deep strikes, cruise missiles for low-altitude penetration, and drones for saturation, shows a mature, sophisticated strike doctrine that now rivals many Western powers. The technological leap did not happen overnight. For years, Iran invested heavily in solid and liquid rocket propulsion, composite materials, carbon fiber motor casings, precision machining, and indigenous electronics. All of this was achieved under sanctions that were supposed to cripple their program. Iranian engineers didn't just copy foreign designs, they improved them. The Emad's maneuverable warhead is a direct response to billions of dollars invested by the United States and Israel in missile defense. For decades, Western analysts dismissed Iranian missiles as inaccurate dumb rockets. On the night of May 3rd, those assumptions were incinerated along with the Golani Brigade's command center. The world witnessed precision strikes on hardened bunkers, airbase infrastructure, and moving convoys from over 1,000 kilometers away. More worrying for the United States is the proliferation potential. Iran has already shared missile technology with its allies. The same production lines that built these 1,250 Emads can be scaled up or transferred. What happens when similar capabilities appear in even greater numbers across multiple fronts? The night of May 3rd proved a painful truth that many in Washington still refuse to accept. Technology alone does not win wars. Industrial depth, tactical innovation, and national will matter more. Iran demonstrated all three. They turned a sanctioned economy into a missile superpower capable of challenging the combined might of the United States and Israel. The Emad did not just hit military targets. It struck at the very foundation of modern military thinking, the belief that expensive, high-tech defenses could indefinitely protect against a determined adversary willing to use mass and precision together. As the smoke continues to rise over the ruins of the Golani Brigade, one fact stands undeniable. The balance of military power in the Middle East has shifted. Iran has shown the world that self-reliance, backed by determination and engineering ingenuity, can defeat even the most advanced Western systems. The age of the missile is here, and on that terrifying night in May, Iran proved it is leading the charge. But there was something even more sinister at work that night, something that went far beyond the sheer number of missiles. US Fury Force calls it the Blackout Effect. For the first time in modern warfare, Iran successfully combined a massive kinetic barrage with a sophisticated, large-scale electronic warfare and cyber operation. As the Emad missiles were launched, Iranian forces simultaneously activated a powerful electromagnetic and cyber jamming campaign targeting American and Israeli command and control systems. Satellite communications were disrupted, GPS signals across northern Israel were spoofed and jammed, secure data links between Israeli ground forces and their air assets flickered and died. For nearly 90 critical minutes, the Golani Brigade and supporting units operated in a near-total information blackout. Commanders on the ground could not reliably talk to higher headquarters. Pilots lost real-time targeting data. Air defense radars suffered cascading interference. This was not random jamming. It was precision-targeted electronic warfare, carefully mapped and rehearsed, designed to create maximum confusion exactly when the missiles arrived. Iranian operators exploited known vulnerabilities in Western systems, weaknesses that had been quietly studied for years. The psychological impact was devastating. Israeli soldiers at the Golani headquarters reported a terrifying sense of isolation. Radios crackled with static. Screens went dark. The very technology they had been told would always protect them suddenly failed. In the middle of the greatest missile attack in their nation's history, many units felt blind, deaf, and alone. This blackout effect may prove to be the real game-changer of May 3rd. It showed that Iran no longer needs to match America or Israel missile for missile. By mastering the electromagnetic spectrum and cyber domain, they can degrade, confuse, and partially blind even the most advanced Western forces before the first warhead strikes. Senior U.S. military sources, speaking privately, admit this represents a worrying evolution in Iranian capabilities. For years, America has invested billions in network-centric warfare systems that connect every soldier, tank, plane, and satellite in real time. On that night, those very connections became liabilities. The blackout effect turned America's technological advantage into a vulnerability. It created the perfect conditions for the Emad barrage to succeed. And it sent a chilling message to every Pentagon planner. Future wars may not be won by the side with the best weapons, but by the side that can best blind the other first. This new dimension of warfare, the marriage of massed missiles and sophisticated electronic attack, changes everything. And on the night of May 3rd, the Golani Brigade learnt that lesson in blood and fire. As the fires still raged over the ruins of the Golani Brigade, the eyes of the world turned toward Washington. Within minutes of the first impacts, emergency lines lit up at the Pentagon and the White House. The president was awakened and rushed into the Situation Room as satellite imagery showed Israeli military bases burning. 3 U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups were immediately ordered to surge toward the eastern Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. B-52 bombers were placed on heightened alert. Public statements from the State Department promised ironclad support for Israel and issued stern warnings to Iran. Yet behind the strong rhetoric, a very different reality was unfolding. Despite the largest naval deployment since the Gulf War, American forces did not launch immediate retaliatory strikes against Iranian territory. No Tomahawk missiles rained down on Tehran. No special forces teams crossed the border. The superpower that once promised to dominate any battlefield appeared strangely restrained. Why? The limits of American power were on full display that night. First, the military reality, U.S., and Israeli air defenses had already expended billions of dollars worth of interceptors in just a few hours. Replenishing those stocks would take months. American bases across the region were now vulnerable to further Iranian missile barrages. Intelligence assessments warned that any direct U.S. strike could trigger a wider war involving Iranian proxies across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, a multi-front conflict. America was not prepared to fight while already stretched thin elsewhere. Second, the economic dimension. Oil prices spiked more than 30% within hours. The global economy, already fragile, faced the threat of disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. A prolonged conflict would send energy prices soaring and trigger inflation across the Western world. Wall Street reacted with panic. Third, the political calculation. American voters, weary of endless Middle East wars, showed little appetite for another major commitment. With domestic divisions deepening, the administration faced a nightmare scenario, a war that could not be won quickly and would dominate the political landscape for years. Quietly, back-channel communications through third parties sought to de-escalate, even as public statements remained tough. This hesitation revealed a deeper truth. The era of unchallenged American military dominance is ending. For decades, the U.S. Navy ruled the seas, and American air power could strike anywhere with impunity. On the night of May 3rd, that assumption was directly challenged by a nation the United States had tried to isolate for over 40 years. Iran had successfully imposed a cost-benefit calculation that made full-scale American intervention extremely risky. Geopolitically, the implications are profound. America's closest ally in the Middle East had just suffered one of its worst military disasters in modern history, and Washington's response appeared limited to defensive posturing and strong words. Allies from Europe to Asia watched carefully. If the United States could not or would not fully protect Israel, what did that mean for security guarantees elsewhere? Meanwhile, America now faces a painful strategic dilemma. It can escalate and risk a regional war with unpredictable consequences, or it can restrain itself and watch its deterrence credibility erode further. Neither choice is good. The events of May 3rd exposed the limits of American power in the 21st century. Not because America is weak, but because its adversaries have grown stronger, smarter, and more willing to accept risk. The age of the single superpower able to dictate terms everywhere is fading. A new multipolar reality is taking its place, written in missile trails and burning command centers. America's reaction was measured, but in the harsh mathematics of power, restraint can sometimes look like weakness, and in geopolitics, perception often becomes reality. The world is watching, and the fires over the Golani Brigade continue to burn. Beyond missiles and technology lies a force far more powerful, the unbreakable human will. On the night of May 3rd, Iran did not win only with hardware, it won with something deeper, the fierce determination of a nation that refuses to bow. For decades, Iran has faced the harshest sanctions, constant threats, and repeated attempts at regime change. Yet, instead of collapsing, it forged a national spirit of defiance that turned adversity into strength. This is the spirit of a proud civilization with thousands of years of history. Iranians see themselves not as victims, but as heirs to an ancient empire that has survived conquest after conquest. That deep-rooted national pride fueled the decision to strike back decisively. Every Iranian missile technician, every strategist, and every soldier understood they were not just fighting for territory, they were fighting for dignity, sovereignty, and the right to exist without foreign domination. Compare this to the other side. Israel's military power, while technologically impressive, rests heavily on external support, American funding, American weapons, and American political backing. When the missiles began to fall, that dependence became painfully visible. Advanced systems ran out of ammunition. Promises of protection met the hard limit of political reality. External power, no matter how great, has its limits when the will behind it wavers. Iran's fighters and engineers, by contrast, operate on internal conviction. They built their missile program under sanctions with their own hands. They accepted risk and sacrifice because they believe their cause is existential. That kind of willpower turns $400,000 missiles into strategic game changers and turns a sanctioned nation into a regional power capable of challenging superpowers. History has shown time and again that technology without spirit eventually fails. Superior weapons in the hands of those unwilling to fight lose their edge. On May 3rd, the world witnessed the opposite. A nation with fewer resources but far greater resolve achieved what many thought impossible. The soldiers who launched those Emad missiles did so knowing retaliation could come. Yet they fired anyway, because the defense of their homeland and their dignity mattered more than personal safety. That is the power of national spirit. Israel now faces not only physical destruction, but a deep psychological shock. Its aura of invincibility built on technological superiority and external alliances has been pierced. True strength, as Iran demonstrated, comes from within, from a people united by shared purpose and unyielding resolve. In the end, wars are not won by machines alone. They are won by the hearts and minds of those who operate them. On the night of May 3rd, Iran proved that inner fire can burn brighter than any radar screen or missile shield. And that spirit may prove to be the most dangerous weapon of all. The fires over the Golani Brigade were more than a military defeat. They marked the beginning of a new world order. On the night of the 3rd of May, 2026, the illusion of unchallenged American dominance suffered another serious blow. For decades, the United States and its allies promoted a vision of a single superpower capable of enforcing global rules through superior military might. That era is now fading in flames and missile trails. The world is now unmistakably multipolar. A powerful new axis, Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, has demonstrated that it can successfully challenge the Western-led order. Iran delivered the strike. Russia and China provided diplomatic cover, intelligence, and strategic depth. North Korea contributed technological know-how. Together, they showed that coordinated resistance can neutralize even the combined strength of the United States and Israel. NATO members watched with alarm. If America could not fully protect its closest Middle Eastern ally, despite massive investment in missile defense, what does this mean for Europe's own security guarantees? The credibility of American security commitments has been severely damaged. Meanwhile, the global South observed carefully. Many nations long resentful of Western sanctions and interventions now see a viable path forward: self-reliance paired with strategic partnerships outside the Western orbit. The success of Iran's barrage sends a clear message: it is possible to defy the superpower and win. For the United States and Israel, the psychological wound runs deep. The myth of technological and military invincibility has been shattered. Billions spent on the world's most advanced defense systems proved insufficient against determination and numbers. The age of expensive interceptors defeating cheaper mass attacks is over. This single night accelerated a trend that was already underway: the steady decline of unipolar hegemony and the rise of a balanced multipolar world. Power is diffusing, alliances are shifting. Nations are choosing their own partners based on mutual benefit rather than ideological loyalty. The old order is burning. In its place rises a new reality where no single nation can dictate terms to the entire planet. The events of May 3rd did not just damage bases and equipment, they damaged the very foundation of 21st century Western dominance. As the smoke clears over the Middle East, one truth stands above all others: the world has changed. Multipolarity is no longer a theory. It is here written in fire across the Israeli sky. The question now is not whether the old order will survive. It is how quickly the new one will take shape and who will thrive within it. The night of the 3rd of May 2026 will be remembered as the moment the old world cracked. What we witnessed was not merely a military strike. It was a historic turning point, the night when quantity defeated quality, when self-reliance overcame sanctions, and when unbreakable national will pierced the illusion of absolute power. The Golani Brigade lies in ruins. The myth of invincibility lies in ashes. And the era of unchallenged American-Israeli dominance has suffered a blow from which it may never fully recover. This conflict has revealed the new realities of 21st century warfare. Technology matters, but spirit, numbers, and strategic depth matter more. A multipolar world has arrived, and it is being shaped by nations willing to resist rather than submit. So, what happens next? Will America and Israel launch a devastating counterstrike and risk all-out regional war? Or will they be forced to accept new limits to their power? Will the axis of resistance grow even stronger? The coming weeks and months will answer these questions, but one thing is already certain: the world will never be the same again. Fellow Americans, If this analysis opened your eyes to the shifting tides of global power, I ask you to do 3 things. Hit the like button, it helps more people see the real story behind the headlines. Share this video with friends and family who still believe in the old world order. They need to see the truth. Leave a comment below. Do you believe America can still reverse this shift, or has the balance of power permanently changed? Subscribe to US Fury Force and turn on notifications so you never miss a single breakdown of these historic events. This is US Fury Force. Stay aware, stay strong, stay insightful. I'll see you in the next one.